My mom told me not to talk to strangers on the internet, but I'm glad I didn't listen. We are the Certified Nunas, your sisters in the love of Asian entertainment.
Hi, I'm Jessie.
I'm Natalia.
And I'm Sky.
And ladies, I have a question for you.
Okay.
What do you think would be the best way to deal with your life absolutely falling apart as a 16-year-old? Would it A, go to therapy, B, maybe change some things about your life, reconnect with people, or C, go to some creepy-ass Catholic boarding school in the middle of the countryside? Which do you think would be the best option?
I mean, C, obviously.
Only if there's a sus priest guy involved.
Yeah.
And there's the cute guy waiting for me.
Yes.
Yeah. Today, we watched the first 4 episodes of the new Thai show, Shadow, in which Singto is really pushing the bounds of how long a 29-year-old man can play a 17-year-old. He does
a good job being 17.
And so he's the main character, and then our other main is Fluke, who is himself 27 years old as well. So it's like they're really pushing the bounds of like what could be considered, youth. But there's a real time-honored tradition of like late 20s playing teenagers that I really encourage I'm really encouraged that it's a worldwide phenomenon.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah. We're all doing it.
Yeah. So it's for anyone interested who hasn't seen it yet, we're only going to be talking about the first 4 episodes. It's on Gaga Ulala, I think exclusively in North America on Gaga Ulala, and in Asia it's on Viu. And 7 episodes are out right now, and then next month, I think.
Yes.
I think the next 7 months. 7 months. The next 7 episodes are going to be dropped. So they dropped 7 episodes on Halloween for a little spooky evening. And then they dropped 7 episodes sometime later. Sometime soon. Coming soon. And is this show something?
It is.
Is this show something? So for anyone who's like, I can't do horror at all, because it is, I wouldn't call it horror. Well, so far, the first 4 of those. It's more of like a psychological, supernatural thriller, I would say, at this point, but...
Yeah, it's got some, it uses horror elements in what it's trying to tell you, so there are some, shadow figure horror type deals to it, but it's not full out, jump scares or menacing music all the time. It doesn't, heighten you the way that horror does. There's just some really bits and pieces that are horror-esque. I guess they use horror elements within the drama itself.
So before we get into it, just so everyone knows, all 3 of us only watched the first 4 episodes. So anything we spoil will only be spoiled in the first 4 episodes. So if you want to go watch those and then return,
which it's not like there were any huge reveals or anything, so
feel free to do so. But if we're never gonna watch it or don't really care about that sort of thing, stay here. We can keep going. Pause, we'll watch, come back. We're good. Okay. Now that we've reached this, we can get into it. So any spoilers that happen past here, you've been warned, friends.
You can't get mad at us.
No. So the year 1999. The grade 11. The kid, Dan. He's a tragic figure. He's having a bit of a rough go at life. His mom's been dead for years. His dad is dying of brain cancer, and he is shipped off to a boarding school run by a priest who used to be a psychologist, who is friend of his mother. And the priest is like, you're gonna have a good time here. Don't worry about it. we're all so welcoming and friendly at this completely not creepy Catholic boarding school in Thailand for some reason.
So welcoming.
So
you know that, like,
welcoming.
He's gonna tell the truth. Like, you know, when he said that, they were gonna be super welcoming.
You know that this, like, 40-year-old priest really has his finger on the pulse of teenage
he knows exactly
boys,
what all those
schools.
Students are doing. Yeah. He knows
so
how
then
they act.
He shows up and is like, all right, we'll just pick whatever empty desk you want. So he in his defense, he just follows directions and he goes in, and then everyone's like whispering and shocked as though he was supposed to know something intuitively as a brand new transfer student to this boarding school. And you find out that the desk he has chosen belonged to a student, Trin, from the year before, who went missing after maybe or maybe not having some sort of inappropriate relationship with the drama teacher. No one knows what happened to him, but the show starts out with us seeing what happened to him. So, like, no one else besides us know what happened to him. He disappeared into the lake, okay? So then, quickly, Dan is befriended by the class punching bag Nye, who's the only one who's remotely nice to him, where he quickly learns that everyone's real mean to Nye. Because Nye is openly gay, not of his own choice. And everyone just goes around calling him slurs all day, and the teachers see this, and somehow it's his fault, because this is 1999, and that's just how it is. And then poor Nye is like, you don't have to be friends with me, like, I understand. And he's like, that's stupid, I'm still gonna be friends with you, you're actually nice to me, whereas everyone else in this school seems to be kind of an idiot or a psychopath, so, like,
there's
I'm a
very, like, extremes on the, like, kids here. There's, like, no, like, middle ground except for him.
Yeah. Like, and then you find out that not only is Dan having a rough go at life, and not only is he now the new target of the bully, as, you know, because now they're like, you and the one gay student are friends, which means you must also be sleeping together, because teen boys are dumb. All right? Teen boys are so fucking stupid. And then you find out that he sees this shadow creature that tries to kill him all the time. Just, he's constantly stalked by this shadow creature, which the priest is like, this is just a manifestation of your own anxiety over, like, what happened to your parents, which you don't find out what happened to his parents until later, until, like, episode 3-4, and Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Jesus
oh my Christ.
I
too would be seeing the shadows.
Yeah.
Figure,
yeah, like, Jesus. But then our little friend Nye is like, no, see, that's where this priest is wrong, because I can see ghosts. And I know you's ass is being haunted. But I don't think it's a manifestation of your own anxiety that tried to drown you in swimming class, even though I don't know why anyone made him go into the swimming pool, because he was clearly terrified of water, but that's neither here nor there. That was 100%. It's a ghost. And not only is it a ghost, it's the ghost of the student who went missing. We gotta solve his murder, which I definitely think happened. And that's kind of where we're at. Except for episode 4, where we find out all about Dan's home life history.
Yeah.
Hard watch,
and it's
friends.
It is very much a hard watch. I will say, like, trigger
warning
on,
for sure, for abuse.
When it starts on, like, the, like, half end of, like, episode 3, and then fully episode 4, I think the entire episode I would put a trigger
warning
for child abuse, there's suicide, there's, like, alcoholism. It's, like, a really intense storyline.
Really, like, well done, but, like,
oh, absolutely,
really intense. And also, I may have accidentally, like, spoiled it to Jessie earlier today, thinking she'd already watched it. I thought she watched it, and I was like...
But she didn't. She didn't really.
I just said something, and then Jessie was like, yeah, I agree, but why are you saying this? And I was like, no reason.
No reason at all.
You shouldn't have said no reason, because as soon as you said no reason, I was like,
yeah.
For this show. I was like, it could apply to any other drama.
Yeah. Because what I said to her was, I'm on team let your drunk abusive father die alone. And she was like, I agree, but why? And I was like, I said nothing.
Go into the bushes like Homer Simpson.
You heard nothing.
And then later, like today, I was like, now I understand.
You're like, I agree fully now.
But when I did watch that entire episode, and honestly, even before that, so like the end of episode 3, the whole time I'm like, do not tell who to forgive, like who to forgive their parents, even if there's not an abusive situation. Don't tell people who they need to forgive.
Like a Catholic priest bullshit thing to do with like no concept of like how this kid's life was, because like
it adds another layer to the whole thing when you find out his relationship, or like the illusion of like what his relationship is with the mom, and so it becomes extra like grimy and just gross.
Yeah, because
what
like
he's doing,
he might have not had any, because like the father. Okay, for anyone who hasn't watched and is just like listening because they love listening to us for some reason, thank you for joining us. You should join our fan family on Certified on Patreon.com/Certified News. But the father, who's a drunk and abusive to his wife and son, gets his wife institutionalized after a horrific gun-related incident. And then after she gets out, and he promises he's going to stop drinking and he's going to stop being abusive, very quickly he's like, I know you fucked that priest. And she's like, what are you talking about? No, I didn't. And he's like, I bet you did. So this kid grows up hearing just his father say just vile shit about his mother all the time. And then it basically, the mother's life ends with the father saying, I'm never going to let you go. You're never going to be able to take my son, because I'm going to tell them that you're crazy. And since you're already hospitalized, they're going to agree with me and you're going to be rehospitalized and never see your son again. So she kills herself, which is like so fucking real. Like, so like, I don't.
And not only does she kill herself, he is the one to find her, the son. Kid. And he's like, I don't know. Young,
like under 10.
7?
Yeah, like under
probably
10.
7 to 9.
It's a heartbreaking scene. Like, comes in carrying his toy, and it's just
dead mom,
devastating.
Yeah, and then immediately after, the father screams at him for not eating food he's allergic to. Like, it's like this father is psychotic, classic like drunk abusive father. And then,
and you can tell that like he was like focusing a lot of his, almost exclusively all of his rage to the mother. So like once the mother is out of the picture, it immediately goes to this very young child who he clearly never really even talked to. Yeah, like he just has no clue of who this kid is as a human. Yeah.
And so when I sort of like the non-linear storytelling in that way, because when you meet him, he's too calm. Like, he's too calm and unfazed about everything happening to him. Yeah. Like, they're like, oh, I'm so sorry about your father dying. And he's like, oh, whatever. Like, I don't actually, it's fine. Like, I just wish I didn't have these horrible nightmares where someone's trying to murder me. But, like, otherwise, I'm just like, whatever. And everyone's like, okay, that's fucking weird. But it's like, when you then find out, like, oh, wait, no, that's just a trauma response to, like, living with this his whole life. Like, and it's like, the show is really well done.
It really is.
It really is.
Because even with that, like, little bit, they show that within the child, like, when the child is screamed at for, like, not eating the dinner, and then you see him on the floor, because the dad makes him clean up the dinner that he's thrown on the floor.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah. He, like, you see, like, the transition from the kid being scared to crying to immediately shutting down and becoming like inwardly focused. Yeah. And that's like what you see of his like older self. Like, so it like mirrors, and it's like really seamlessly done in that way that it's like really nice to kind of see that, like,
and great kid actor.
That. Yeah, the great kid actor, and very well paired with Singto as like the like grown-up actor, because Singto's an excellent actor. Like, and like the Singto Fluke like duo of acting together, chef's kiss, because they're fantastic. And also like the priest played by Ut, also great, which is fun because the last thing I saw him in was Unforgotten Night, and he had like a very bit part in that as like, and I just remember like someone on the T-list being like, really this is what you're gonna make, really? And I was like, what? He's having a good time. Let him cook. But I thought it was so like really interesting how it shows how very quickly, like in these situations, that your fear just turns to hatred and indifference. And then that is something that people who perhaps are not familiar with that way of life somehow it makes you seem like a bad person. And it's why, you know, you hear all these stories, like, you know, when you hear these horrible news stories about like women who kill their abusive husbands and then are very emotionless, like when the police arrive, and it's like, well, obviously it wasn't self-defense because you're not, you know, like upset. And it's like, no, it's because their bodies have trained them to shut down in these situations. And it's really showing that in like a really stark way that I was not expecting the show to have. And I'm very impressed with the show so far. Like,
I am too. Like, it was definitely hard in the very beginning because like, another trigger warning we should say is that the abuse, like, especially at school, is really intense.
Yeah.
Like, so, and I don't like that type of stuff. Like, I don't like watching that type of stuff. So it was a little bit hard to get into. But, like, the story is just so fascinating because it is set up mostly like it's a mystery.
Yeah.
Like, you are coming together, like, these people are coming together and they're going to off to like find out what happened. So you're just like intrigued by everything that comes on screen. Like, you're intrigued by every like different person who comes on, different character, like especially the priest. He's just constantly there, and it's like constantly you're just wondering who he truly is.
Yeah,
because he's very much in that gray character where like he could swing either way and like it wouldn't be like truthful.
Everything he does on the surface seems really kind, but like it's sort of set in a reflection of how just awful everything he's a part of is. So it's like, how kind can you be if you're allowing all of this to happen right under your nose and pretending like, and like that we're led to believe that even though all the other teachers know that this one gay kid is being horrifically bullied and they're blaming the gay kid, you don't know this somehow as like the school, like the head of the school. You have absolutely no idea that any of this is happening. And you just show up right before it always shows up right before it gets too out of hand to be like, okay, but like, that's not how we do things here. Well, clearly it is. But what I really love is like this concept of, it's sort of almost like the outsider coming in, where this school has functioned under this like strong against the weak mentality, and then this guy comes in who has dealt with far worse abuse than these teenagers could ever even hope to pull off on him, and then they try to intimidate him, and he just calls them on their shit immediately and shows absolutely no fear for them at all, and they don't know what to do about it. And I think that the scene like where they're in like the locker room and everyone's supposed to be changing, and the head bully is like going on about like, oh, leopards have like an alpha omega thing, and we're like, our house is the leopard, and like we didn't win like best dorm or whatever, and all of you who like are at the bottom of the ranks have to pick up all the slack for everyone else. And then he just looks at me and goes, leopards are solitary, you're full of shit. Like, literally everything you said was nonsense. And then right when he's about to like throw hands, like this bully's about to throw hands, that's when the priest shows up and is like, that's not how we do things here at this good Christian academy. Not on my Christian Minecraft server. Like, and it's just like, and it's like, bro, yes, that's exactly, like, clearly until the one kid you actually like outside of this school setting showed up to here, this is exactly how everything's been going.
Yeah, it's clearly been fostered into this school. Like, this is just the norm. Because immediately every kid in that room was like bowing down to the one kid.
Yeah.
Like, he was outnumbered by people, and still he was like able to just do this like bullshit like routine, and also like to have this like prepared speech too. Like, that's like something that like it's being taught to him to like do this.
And then like it really reinforces that this behavior is being taught and reinforced when you have any interactions with any of the teachers, who he never gets punished for clearly bad actions, but the people who are the target of his bullying are the ones who have to also take the sort of emotional weight of his own actions as well. And it's just, it's done so masterfully and like so realistically, despite the fact that half of this show has a kid who can see ghosts and another kid being hunted by like a smoke demon, that you're just like, the fact that the other half of the show is so just realistic to how this shit happens. And like just, and it's just wild that it's so like, it's hard to watch, but it's so well done.
I really like you never felt that this wasn't like 17-year-olds doing it too. Like it's got this like kind of like the realness, but like it's not sensationalized, even though it is pretty terrible what's happening. Like you just like everything they do, you're like, yeah, that's what a 17-year-old kid would do. Like if like you're gonna have a psychotic 17-year-old, that's what he's going to do. And I don't think a lot of other shows get that right, especially when you have people who are not 17 playing those roles. Because especially when you're doing this and all the people surrounding are of a certain age, naturally you're just gonna go to what you think of in your like own age. And they're not doing that in this. There's like just like some of the like, even there's a point where they're going to be doing a play and it's going to be like a co-thing with the girls' school that they're, I guess, affiliated with or what. Maybe they're the same church
it's
or whatever.
the priest runs this and then they bring in and there's a nun who runs this girl.
You know how they have like this sister brother school, so like that. But even like those interactions were done very real to this. And I think that's like what's like the biggest interesting thing about this whole entire show is that you have all these things going on with like the ghosts and stuff, but then they do like high school things. Like they're doing high school things and you're seeing them be high schoolers. And it just kind of like keeps you bringing you back to this like real world setting, like it's forcing you into that, and it's like super interesting because I think I don't know what they are, but I think they are like intentionally doing that to like kind of mirror what he's doing, especially when he's falling asleep and he goes into like the sleep paralysis with the demon or ghost or whatever it is, where he's like constantly being forced back into that crazy world and then going back into reality. So like you're kind of like seeing that within just being like, you see what's happening to him, but then also everyday school for a 17-year-old boy.
Well, that's what being a teenager feels like, as far as you'll have these, not really, I mean, you will have heightened emotional things, but in the show, it's not like extra heightened emotion whatsoever, but there'll be something like really difficult in life, bullying or, you know, dealing with dying parent or whatever. So you're dealing with this thing, but gotta go work on the play audition because this is being a teenager. Like,
so when I speaking of the play, when I watch things, usually when I'm watching things for the podcast, so that I like know, like, remember what I'm talking to, I'll like talk out what I'm watching with my husband. And so I was describing the show, and then I was like talking all about like this guy's father and how he's dying and how like, you know, the ghosts and everything. And I'm like, oh yeah, and also in the backdrop of this, they're all like auditioning for Hamlet. And my husband looks at me, he goes, a little bit on the nose, huh? Like, I was like, yeah, maybe a little, like, but you know what isn't, you know?
We'll give it to them. It's a Thai, so at least it's a Thai show, so it's a little not quite, you know, if you don't know
the plot of Hamlet.
If it was an English show, it would feel way on the nose, but at least it's like, well, that's in a different language, so I mean.
But like, and it's like, it makes so much sense that a Catholic school in Thailand would be putting on Hamlet because everyone, like, people who aren't aware of like what sorry for Natalia's little Catholic anti-Catholic moment, like the Catholic Church goes to these places and tries to just basically assimilate people into Western culture. So it's like there's no reason why they shouldn't be doing a play by a Thai playwright. Like that makes way more sense for these Thai children.
Even like, even if you're gonna make it like, you know, super like good for super religious folk, like it still would, like, you could pick something else, like, clearly.
But no, like Hamlet. So it's like someone perhaps who like didn't grow up with any sort of Western school influence may not know why Hamlet's a bit on the nose, but that might interest them to go look up Hamlet, which then would be like, oh, okay, so the themes they're meshing here. I get it. found it very interesting that the director, not only is this his first show that he's ever directed, he's 26.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
makes you feel old.
two of the screenwriters were also the screenwriters of a little show called Mama Go-Go that had a very different vibe. Very different vibe than this show.
I was just thinking, if there's an interview with the writers, and they're like, we drew inspiration from our prior work.
From our prior work, Mama Go-Go. Male strippers.
Oh, you know what? Something's interesting about this show. Like, we didn't really touch about it. The priest is also, like, a researcher. Mm-hmm. Like, he purposely was researching the kid before, and that's why he's like really like into him coming back to this school. And it's got this like weird vibe to it that like almost that's why he's at that school. And he's like constantly doing these little things. Maybe he's like this like mastermind and like hitting people and like kind of just like being on the like behind the scenes doing
like, sort
stuff
of like a
and then
Stanford prison experiment
what they're
situation.
doing. Yeah. So it's like another level to him being like bad, but not in the way that you think he's bad.
Yeah, like early on, like after we saw the interaction between like Dan and the priest like a couple times, I was like, I understand they're trying to sell us on the fact that, oh, Dan is like extra close with him. And I'm like, got that, but I really feel like there could be other students that have different issues that were brought to this school for all intents and purposes of various things. Not recently, but like originally. Like he could have purposefully brought whoever
he's like
he
handpicking all of these.
And also, like I always like while watching it, I got the sense that like the priest acts like he's really close with this kid. Yes. But the kid doesn't reciprocate, because the kid doesn't really reciprocate emotions with anyone that you see except for his friend that he makes, Nye, like the the character that the friend he makes at school. Like he doesn't reciprocate emotional like with the priest, he'll tell, like he tells him so deadpan, like, oh, like how are your sleep problems? He's like very factual, like, yep, still happening, like give me the drugs. And then the only other interaction he has is with this monk who is like, no man, this isn't all just in your mind. Like you can't stay in the shadow world. Get out of the shadow realm, Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, you have to move on. And gives him a ring. And the first time you see the priest lose composure is when he sees the ring hanging on a chain around the kid's neck. Because he uses, he's like, use this ring as like a meditation device to like help you break out of the issues that you're in. Hello, Fluffernutter. And so then he has to then hide the ring at all times after this because, apparently you're not allowed having any accessories at boarding school.
But Dan also interacts with one of the visiting girls, like in a friendly fashion, and like that's a really nice interaction. I don't think he necessarily doesn't have any emotional reaction to people in general. It's just that he... he's very composed for obvious reasons.
It's like, because when all these girls show up, all the other guys are just being too much, right? They're all trying to be like flirty.
Teenage boys are so gross.
Yeah, I know.
They are so gross.
So it's not that he's even particularly kind or nice to this girl.
Just normal.
He just treats her like a human being. Like
which is not something any of the other guys are doing to those girls. Because like you see, they're like, as soon as like the girls get to that school, it's like announced, and just like classic cliche teenage guys, it's like, they're like we're fawning over. They have like random photos of each of them. They're like, we're gonna get with this girl and this girl, and like.
And he's just like,
Zero is in on him and is like, you're not creepy in the way that these guys are.
Yeah, because and it's not like he doesn't even show any particular interest in her other than she's having trouble carrying something, so he goes to help her because she drops a bunch of stuff.
Hello, fellow human. I help you.
Yeah, it's very like true. Like you could tell, like she picked up really close. It wasn't like him trying to impress her. It was like, I saw someone fall. Things went across the floor. I go to help because I'm a human, and I think that's a good thing, and I have hands that I'm able to pick up these things with. And then she's like, ah, yes, that's
and
like...
so they're having, like, an acting workshop to, like, learn acting before they audition for Hamlet the next day.
Gotta learn acting in one day.
One day. And by the way, those auditions... Only one person was auditioning for Hamlet, and that was Singto. Everyone else was auditioning for something else. I don't know what everyone else was auditioning for, but it wasn't Hamlet, okay?
They didn't know either, don't worry.
They were auditioning for they were auditioning for High School Musical 4, okay? Like, they were on their own planet. And so they're like, oh, you have to, like, pair off with someone you're not familiar with to, like, you know, and then talk about life stories and then, like, retell them. And, like, he's not telling his life story looking for sympathy or, like, he's just factually like, oh yeah, this is why I'm here. And then she's like, she's sort of awkward because she's like, oh shit, I'm sorry about your dad, like, dying. And he's like, oh no, it's fine. Like, don't worry about it. Like,
and that also helps the other kid here. So he gets, like, a little bit more insight into his character and, like, what's going on with his world. Because he is kind of still shut off to the other kid in a way. Like, especially with, like, kind of, like, deep confessions of it, like, his past and his childhood.
Because the other kid is like, I know you done seen the ghosts. Maybe you don't see the ghosts. Maybe you just feel the ghosts, but I see the ghosts. And there's a ghost after you. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna be real here. I also see the ghost. All right, I do see them. I also do see the ghost. You're right. Like, I'm not. I've been told I'm crazy, but I'm glad that at least someone is as crazy as I am. So
I do think it's so to hop back to that specific scene when they do, like, they have that conversation. Right after that, Dan's like, well, now we're gonna go to the lake. We are immediately gonna figure this out. And it's like, that is such a bad idea.
No, but it's like, it's such a bad idea.
17-year-old boy.
Such a 17.
It's like, I was like, this is such a staple of, like, this type of show.
Yeah.
It's like, at the same time I'm watching this, I also started rewatching Teen Wolf. Because I periodically just rewatch Teen Wolf because it's my favorite show of all time.
What number of rewatch are you on?
Like 6. Don't worry about it, okay? Don't worry about it. It's 100 episode. Let's just say it's 100 episode show that I've seen enough.
A few times.
That I am literally able to, like, do scenes word for word, like, and if anyone out there hasn't seen Teen Wolf, it's literally one of the funniest supernatural teen shows that's ever been made. Like, it's so good. But, like, that's, like, a staple of that, too. Where it's like, you're 16. It's not up to you to go investigate the dead body in the woods.
You don't have to be the one to do it.
One of your fathers is the town sheriff. It is his job, Styles. Stop it. But, like,
you can also maybe wait until morning to go do the exact same thing.
Maybe collect some more evidence.
If you weren't in the woods looking for a dead body, you wouldn't have been bitten by a werewolf, Scott. Have you ever thought about that? But no, like, it's like time-honored tradition. We got, you know, like, the Buffy, you know, like, that's teens doing shit teens shouldn't be doing. Scooby-Doo. Why the fuck were those teens doing that shit? Why were they investigating real estate fraud? They were at most 21. Well, what else
is Velma supposed to be doing? Making world peace happen or something?
Like, the one, like, you know, a little hit back to an episode in September, Enigma. Why the fuck was she looking into this? Like
what do you have to do
sense? Like, you should be studying and doing some extracurriculars, and the
teens just think the whole world is on their shoulders, and they just need to, like, fix it.
Like, your extracurricular shouldn't be murder investigations, okay? That's not an appropriate after-school activity.
Why don't you just, like, look at the play. Just focus on the play. That should be what you're thinking.
What's wrong with drama club? Man, everyone's real mean about drama club for a bunch of people who then all show up to audition for drama club.
Yeah, they're very excited about their audition.
Yeah, they were like, listen, they spend, like, the first couple episodes being like, only losers do drama club. Only losers. They're all there at that acting workshop.
All of them become a loser.
Well, and it was like, drama club was disbanded, and then suddenly it's back, and everyone's like, oh, okay. Like, no one talks about that.
But it's like they do talk about it, but, like, in sort of a weird way that, I'm gonna be honest, if this drama teacher wasn't involved at all, he's getting screwed by these kids. Like, so, to talk about this drama teacher, he's kind of creepy. I will give him that. But, like, creepy in sort of like a hello fellow kids kind of way, that, like, outside of the setting of what we are told as the audience happened to this kid, he would just be an out-of-touch, weird drama teacher. But, like, because they're like, oh, I heard that Trin and the drama teacher were gay for each other, and then the drama teacher made him disappear, and then drama club was canceled for the year, but it's back now, then he seems creepy. But if none of that happened, this
you just
poor guy,
like normal standard, like
he just wants people to be in Hamlet.
he just feels bad about a kid who went missing and really wants the opportunity for other kids to join the drama club. Like and to be honest, he's the only teacher there who isn't doing awful things. So it's just like, wait a second. And then it's like, but I heard that Trin sent him a love letter, and then he said, we cannot, for you are a student and I am a teacher, and then Trin went and killed himself. And you're just like, all of you are just speculating shit at this point. And this is the speculations that get people fired for no reason. So maybe calm down, children. Or adults playing children, to be more accurate. It's like, none of them are kids.
No.
Like,
can we talk about Fluke's character's backstory for a second?
Yes,
because
absolutely.
I was not expecting.
I was expecting a full backstory from him.
Yeah. So, like, suddenly, you've already seen the horrific bully doing horrific bully shit, and it's obvious that he's the main ringleader of, like, picking on Nye. Is that his name?
Yeah, Nye.
And because it keeps happening, and then suddenly you finally get Nye talking about, this is what happened, like, we got really close back in the day, we both played saxophone, and I was kind of crappy at it, and he really helped me, and we were like buddies.
They're like straight up besties. Straight up besties.
And then you see that he eventually kind of confesses on a phone call with no pressure, and then the next thing he sees, the bully is automatically a bully and has outed him to the entire school, and the entire school is shitty to him. Oh my gosh. Like, I was not expecting that backstory of the bully at all.
And when I was telling you, that bully was sending this poor little gay teen mixed messages this entire time. Like, but at the same time, I feel like we might even get a bully backstory at this point, because like,
I think so too.
He was so he was so affectionate and warm, and then he goes home with his father after his father sees him taking a nap basically on Nye's arms or whatever. And then the next time you see him, he's a homophobic piece of shit. I don't know.
Maybe that is the tie with all the kids is their parents, or like at least their fathers. And that's how this priest is kind of being inserted into their lives.
Because like each of them, like you've heard mention of a lot of these characters' fathers, because Nye, his father calls him and gets him to run errands for him all the time. But he doesn't ever go home. And you're like, if his father lives in the next town, he's like, oh, and at some point they're like, oh, you're going to go visit your parents. And he's like, oh, I haven't been home in like 6 months. Like, maybe on break I'll go visit.
Which kind of seemed like bizarre, at least for the girl side, because the girl was like, when she was talking to the other kid and was like, oh, isn't it like hard for you to be like away from your family, like so far away? Like she thought it was weird, even though they're both in boarding school situations. So it kind of seems like maybe most of the kids are in boarding school, but like it's the neighboring town that their parents are. Like they're not like across the country.
Was it this show? Yeah, it was this show, I think, where they mentioned that not everyone is a boarding student. It's just like some of them.
It did imply, but it was very like it wasn't explicit. It was like, are you following me, Nye? Yeah, you're not the only one who's boarding. That's the only implication they really got with that, I think.
And then it's like, you meet, Dan has a roommate, Josh, who's father is only mentioned as being very rich, but he won't buy him a new car, so he has a shitty car that breaks down all the time. And he never seems to go see his father either. So this is actually a really interesting possibility that we've been presented now. Ooh.
Wait.
Interesting.
What if a lot of them, their moms were like in the mental institution?
Because
but like also just talking to the priest.
Yeah, like talking to the priest because he was the assistant to like the main doctor guy at the time.
If they you find out that all were in that same mental hospital,
but like it's possible, you know, because we saw that younger Dan, would visit his mom when his mom was in the mental hospital, like every day. So that's how he got to know the priest. But as far as it's possible that a lot of these other kids weren't allowed to visit their moms, or just didn't, or couldn't, or whatever. Oh, yeah. So like it's possible that's why they didn't.
Or they just naturally weren't as, like, tied to their mom as he was. Mm-hmm. Like, he was very close to the mom.
Guys, this is... Listen, obviously everything we're saying is pure speculation. We've only seen the first 4 episodes.
But what
There's
we
still
can
10
say,
more episodes to go. We don't know. Like
the priest is sus.
He's a little sus.
Very sus.
Because he's just too
nice. We just don't know in what way.
Yeah. We don't know what kind of sus he is.
He's like,
he's a priest,
he's like nice, but he's also like the cool priest. Yeah. And so that's also what makes it weird. It's not even like he's just like kind of like, I'm not uptight. It's just like he genuinely kind of like acts like he's like trying to be like the good teacher. You know, the standard like sitcom like teacher who's young that like all the kids like go up to and like learn much.
What was the name on Boy Meets World? The guy with the
That's exactly what I'm thinking in my head.
Who adopt Sean with the curly mullet? Who adopt Sean? Yeah.
The motorcycle guy.
Yeah, whatever his name was. Not Feeny, the other one. But like not quite there, you know.
But like the interaction of whenever the priest sees Dan wearing the pokey ring, and when he like his mask falls, you know, like he kind of shows some extra emotion. But then I thought what was so funny was like, you're not allowed to wear accessories. It's like, oh, says the dude wearing a rosary. Yeah, thank you very much.
Says the dude in the cassock and rosary. Okay, yeah, no, I bet if this is a cross, you wouldn't have a problem with it. I see how it is. But like, he's so suspicious. But like, what I sort of found like really suspicious about is that you're presented with all of these other teachers who are all just spectacularly failing at sort of being fair and protecting their students in a healthy way that teachers should be doing, right? And then you have him who says things as though that is his goal, but doesn't seem to enforce anything that he says is what the aim of this school is. It's like, oh, this isn't like, you know, he sees them in the bullying scene in the locker room and is like, this isn't a military academy. Like, you can't order people to like, you know, do penance or whatever. But at the same time doesn't stop another teacher from using corporal punishment on them because their car broke down. Like, it's so it's like clearly it's a little bit like you just want it to be like a top-down hierarchy. You're not accepting like a, you know, the bottom across, you're not accepting a Lord of the Flies hierarchy. You want you at the top of the hierarchy as a benevolent ruler who's not actually like acting on benevolence that anyway we can see anyway. But
and I think so far the drama teacher, I don't think he's as sus as we've been led to believe either.
I think he's like supposed to be like at least in the world the kids are supposed to like look at him and think he's the weirdo or he's the
red herring, as it were,
like adults in all of the like school when he's kind of clearly not, at least at this point, unless they like turn it around. But I just like feel like he's just that kind of scapegoat character.
I like this show is I knew I was probably gonna like it because like, I love Fluke. I love Singto. I love supernatural horror. you know?
Yeah.
So it was like, I figured that I would probably really like this show, but I'm actually liking it so much more than I thought I would. Like,
I am too.
I'm so intrigued by things that are happening in the show that I'm just like, like, I literally, we can sit here and we can speculate about what we think is going to happen, but I actually have no idea what's going to happen in the show. And that's very rare for me.
But also it's kind of fun because they do keep dragging you into like the high school, being high school. So like, you know, you're going to now have to see the performance of Hamlet. Like,
absolutely. Absolutely. It's like, you know, they're going to go to like the haunted lake where the kid disappeared and it's going to be a shit show. Like, cause that's what the teens in these shows do.
Absolutely.
Like, we've all seen Nancy Drew. You know what I mean? Like, we know what's going down here. I'm just so intrigued by everything happening on this show.
I am too, like, because I wasn't expecting this tone, and I wasn't expecting this, like, kind of level of, like, storytelling. I thought it was going to be a little bit more campier, or a little, like, not as, like, thought out, which is, like, totally fine and acceptable. And I was like, okay, here, it's supernatural. Like, might as well, like, you know, watch it. But I'm really glad that it's not that way too, because like it was just so surprising when I was watching it. And I think it's also funny, like, before we were trying to figure out how many episodes we were gonna do for this like, podcast, like if we were gonna like do the 7 or if we had time, because it's like what, the second now, so it's like a pretty close turnaround for this recording thing. But I think like the 4 really was like the best stopping point in like a kind of like cliffhangery way. And I only suggested it because, you know, that like rule of 4 like thing. That's what like I thought. I was like, yeah, like the rule of 4, that would be a good thing or whatever. And it just kind of worked out like really nicely because we got the like kind of explosion of the like main storyline with his father and how like his father was so terrible to him and his trauma related to incidents that happened. And then, so now we're kind of in this, like, okay, now what? Now what's going to happen?
Right, like, I honestly expected the father arc to be way further on. Maybe not be the... I didn't think it was the main thing by any means, but I figured it would still be set back 3 more episodes to, like,
like, maybe those little, like, the vision of him in, like, the closet or, like, behind the door or whatever. Like, keep on, like, kind of showing that for a couple of more episodes, maybe giving a little bit more into the scene, but like not fully going in through the entire thing. So yeah, that they like showed it.
Yeah, the show was just like, time for a huge flashback. Boom! Yeah, this is what we're doing.
Sorry, no, we're just gonna get this out of the way. Which to me says we've got something more interesting to tell you. Which is like, that was really interesting. But like, if you're gonna get crazier.
This is actually just the little part of, like, what's going to happen down the road. But you need to know this part right now and set up everything that's going to happen later.
Like, okay, I'm intrigued. I'm here. I'm here for it. Like, And it's like, and when I tell you the production values on this show are really good, which is sometimes not the case with some Thai shows. I love Thai shows. But I think we can all...
Budgets aren't very high.
We can all admit to ourselves, some of these are made on a bit of a shoestring situation.
Yeah. But these smoke demon things... Creepy. They look good, man. They really look good.
Yeah, they don't, like... They're not jarring in, like, a... Jarring because, like, the CGI looks weird way. It's, like, jarring because it's, like, some creepy smoke demon ghost that's coming after this poor kid. And you're like, he just seems so nice. Like, maybe we'll not have that happen to him.
You're like, I don't see why they're doing.
Gotta love how the priest's answer to this is just like, here, take more pills.
Take drugs. It's like, no, this isn't actually helpful. This isn't helpful. I need you to know that what you're
What are those drugs? Maybe that's part of it too.
Yeah. Well, I'm waiting on the pullback from, because it feels like, okay, we focused on Dan's little story, but I really think that it involves more kids. I really feel like the priest has purposefully placed, if it's not every single kid in the entire thing, it has to be at least some others have been handpicked and placed in the school, because
agree.
There's too much the fact that he's like a psychologist type too.
It's a little too Stanford prison experiment for me. You know what I mean?
It really, like, because they do keep on bringing up the research. They keep on being like, oh, he used to do research and now he's here. Like, but they do it in a way that, like, on the surface is like, oh, look at who we've got. This, like, researcher. Like, look at, he's intelligent and he chose our school to work with. And, like sitting there, I'm like...
But then he goes and teaches the Old Testament class. Yeah. Or whatever it was.
Okay, that scene made me lose my mind.
It was so uncomfortable.
Well, no, because what I loved is, like, because then you very quickly find out that Singto's character is the type of student that you, as a priest teaching a religious class, don't fucking want in your class. You don't want him in your class. You don't want him in your class because he's asking uncomfortable questions that you don't really want to be answering right now because that wasn't on your syllabus to deal with a kid who very clearly does not share your faith at all. But it's just like, I ain't got no other options besides being in this class, so let's party, priest. Like, and I'm just like, this is so uncomfortable, but only for the priest, which is like, so you can see him struggling to keep that, you know, mask on at all times, and it's delicious.
Well, I think it was extra uncomfortable because we've already seen, like, what is Dan's only recourse for getting help right now? Before he went to this other monk, what was his recourse for getting help? It was only the priest. That is his only avenue of help. And so he has to, twice a week or something, keep meeting with the priest and doing all this stuff. And what happened to you, Dan? All this, so, like, he had some guts standing up to the priest in class. I'm like, it's not like you're just not going to hang out with the priest again. You have to go talk to this guy twice a week, and he's your main mental health care provider. Like, this is a big deal.
Yeah, and, like, but see, that's the thing that's, I think, is really well crafted with his character, especially after you find out his backstory, is that because of how he grew up, he is not scared of this because he's lost everything. And so nothing actually scares him except for being smothered by the smoke monster. So it's
he also doesn't trust everybody too. Like, everybody in his life could leave or fail him, and he's accepted that, and he is willing to completely cut off emotional ties with someone if they're going to do that as his, like, survival skill.
So it's like, why would he be intimidated by a priest? Like, what are you gonna do? Priest suddenly haul off and hit me? You're gonna
that seemed godly.
Are you gonna kill my mom? No.
You can kill my dad. Oh no!
Don't
do
nothing.
Don't
do that.
There's literally, like, nothing that I have to fear from you, so I'm not going to. Like, and so I will stand there in your own house and call bullshit on what you're saying, and you won't be able to do anything to me because I don't care. And I love that energy. I love that energy for him because, like, why would he?
One other little thing that I wanted to bring up was, so when they went and visited the Buddhist monk fella person, and how the headless dolls of, like, the village people would bring these headless dolls because, and then so the monk gave this whole backstory of, like, these wild ghosts, and before that they used to float dead bodies in the lake. Nye asks, where did the bodies float to? In front of your school.
All right, we're adding, like, an element of, you know, more fuck-uppedness. Like,
and then the monk goes, yeah, it was like a huge thing, and then they built a school there. It's like,
so you mean this is the hell mouth?
Yay! There it is. There it is. Like,
but then, we better go, like, audition for Hamlet. Like, Yeah. We have to go to our
listen, we got more pressing things than hell on earth. We got Hamlet audition. There's some girls coming to the school.
Girls are coming to the school.
Like, I love it. And and despite the fact that like both of these two main leads are nearing 30, like they're selling it. They're like
they really are,
on one hand, it's like you're watching and you're like, that man is not a 16-year-old. Like, like you can't reasonably look at Singto and be like, that's a 16-year-old. Like, no, there's no.
But they did do a good job. Quite often they would like purposefully dishevel his hair.
Yeah,
it would make him look younger, like by a fair bit.
Yeah, but it's like let's just be honest with ourselves. Like, and I think that even he's honest with himself. This may be his last hurrah at playing a teen.
Meanwhile, Fluke is a tiny person, so he gets away with whatever he wants to get away with.
Listen, he can continue this lovely adventure. Like, he's so cute. He's such he just has little bean energy. Like, and so, but like, even then you're like, okay, I know that's a 27-year-old man. Like, I know that's a 27-year-old, but I can suspend my disbelief about that being a 27-year-old man for the duration of the show, because the show is so excellent. Oh, I'm really enjoying it. Like, the first 4 episodes were just...
Also, I really liked the girl character.
Yes!
Like, she was great.
I liked her a lot, and I'm really hoping that she keeps up. Like, I feel like she is, just because of how they set her up. Like,
yeah, and also she is listed as a main character and does have her own. She does have her own poster in like the character posters.
Because I do think they are going to start like doing the Scooby Gang thing, where they're going to start adding more and more. So like everybody has their own individual role in this investigation, and like they're going to do it as a group, because it really is. It is set up.
Yeah.
The school aspect and them being that age is like the central like storyline in this, really. So like everything is very much like kids going out and doing it. And so it's got that like the classic tropes that you see in other like shows that are for this age group. So like that's like also kind of what's fun about it, that like they're able to like tie that in, and also the way that they're developing the characters. It's believable that these are the 17-year-old characters, even when you have, but I guess we're used to the older people like playing the high schoolers, but it's nice to see that like they are making an effort, because
choice a lot of times when you watch a show like this, like you're like, that's a 30-year-old, like the way they talk and move and like,
or they're doing something like. The bully is so psychotic, you're like, even if you have a psychotic 17-year-old, they're not going to be able to do that. They still, like, the psychotic teenager still has to grow into that, like, level. Like, he can't already be there, he's going to be psychotic. He's still going to be there. But, like, he has to be 17, and they don't ever do that. And, like, the bullying becomes, like, more heightened, and, like, there is extreme bullying in here, but, like, it's believable extreme and not just like used as like to be like, oh, bullying is bad, which it's not really kind of what they're telling in the story. Like you get that
wasn't
it's bad,
the
but
point.
It's just like that's just another thing that's happening in this school to add to everything that's going on. And probably, if our predictions are true, like tie into however the school and their dads and their moms in the mental hospitals work out.
That might be completely nonsense that we've just hypothesized.
It'll be really funny if we're way off with that.
It would be also funny if we weren't way off.
Yeah. Either way, we're gonna enjoy ourselves.
Here's the thing I will say: the priest is up to something.
The priest is suspicious.
Right?
He's doing something.
The priest, he's got our hackles up. You know?
Even if it just pertains to Dan, there's something going on.
There's something, even if it's only him, he's doing something.
There's some
or
fucked
trying
up
something.
There's some fucked up nonsense.
But one thing I do want to say about the whole like when Dan showed up and sat in Trin's desk, and then the whole school is like, "Oh, now you're just Trin for some reason." What are you talking about?
But that's also like so stupid 17-year-old like logic
like,
too.
What I sort of loved about that
not gonna know.
was like he just arrives and everyone in the school acts as though he knew, like he's a transfer student. Why would he know about the intricacies of last year's like
disappearance?
He doesn't even like he doesn't live there. Like, so of course he doesn't know like a student missing. Like, and that's his desk. Oh no.
The vibe was very like, how dare you act like you don't know anything? It's like, oh, I don't know. I'm the new.
They were very offended too. They're like
I actually
offended,
don't know
and then
anything.
also now you're gonna be like followed around by his spirit or something.
It's like, what? What are you like?
And Dan looked very like, well, add it to the list of crap I'm dealing with.
He's like, I don't care. Like,
you know what? I have these other problems that are like up here. That's like, a down here problem.
Listen, my current problems way more pressing than the possible vengeful spirit of some
but
kid
nice try,
met.
Kids. Nice
but like,
try.
Unfazed.
And I feel like I think it might have been the priest that said this, or it might have been that lady teacher, I don't remember, but someone straight to Dan's face was like, your obsession with Trin. I'm like, he doesn't have an obsession with Trin. What is going on?
Like everyone else in this school, it's like they're trying to convince him that he has an obsession with this guy, and he's like, I'm just here. Like,
he's like, I'm looking up these magazines to see what this kid was like, since everyone's yelling at me about him every day.
Because like everything that everyone does indicates to me that I should fucking know who this guy is. So clearly, I'm gonna look him up. Like, what are you talking about?
But your obsession with him, yeah, okay, sure, whatever.
If you say so, man. Like.
It felt very, there's some mind games going on. I was like, there's no obsession with Trin. He's barely even asked around about him. What is going on?
Literally, everything he knows about Trin, he's learned against his will. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's just trying to exist, man.
You know what? It's got like the air of, you know, the, oh god, what is that video game? Where you play the girl and she can rewind the time. Do you know what I'm talking about? And she
Chrono Trigger?
She's a photographer, like she's like a photography student, and she like goes to a boarding school, and so it's one of the like games that's like interactive, so you go up, but like you can rewind time and it changes the trajectory of the storyline. Perfect Strange. Oh my gosh. Well, like one of the things is that like one of the students is missing, and so you see the like the posters for her. It's not like a thing that she's like taking over. Like, it's not like a horror thing. It's more of just like the sci-fi world. Like, and you see it, like, it's tied to her best friend. I know someone is like
someone listening to this knows what she's talking about. I don't know what it is.
Oh my gosh.
Listen, does it involve a blue-haired character?
Yes, that's the best friend.
Yeah. I'm checking it.
And there's like a sequel to it as well.
So basically,
Life is Strange.
There you go.
Life is Strange. That's
there you
right.
Go. It's like not it, but like it's the whole Trin thing was just like, I was like, oh, I'm gonna go watch some Let's Plays now.
Like what I find sort of like, I really like stories that are told out of order. Mm-hmm. And then I also really like stories that are told from multiple points of view, where you gain new knowledge from like what other people are experiencing. And I feel like this is a story that's doing that very well.
But it doesn't feel disjointed, and it's very easy to follow. Like, it's not difficult at all. It's.
I wonder, is it gonna do a time jump?
I have no idea.
I had wondered that, because why are we in 98 and 99? Like,
well,
why are we so far back?
Because he disappeared in 1998, and then this is taking place in 1999.
Right, but are we then going to go into, like...
It's the part
into the modern day? Oh, I have no idea. That would actually make sense for either.
Like, my question is, why are we so far back right now?
But it could also be why they're playing those roles, so they can be their older
adult
selves.
Versions, yeah. Ooh, who knows?
Is someone else gonna go missing, and then they have to figure that out later on?
Oh my god!
Intriguing. Like, ooh, it would actually be fun if like that's why there's like a time jump between the episodes being put out, because half of them take place.
I kind of hate that we watch this now because I don't want to have to wait a month. Like I'm on like a roll. I'm like, now I want more. I don't need to have like a month in between.
It also the episodes go by very quickly. Like
they do.
They're very.
They fly.
They really like take you along, and like, but they don't feel like they're short or anything. Like you're engaged in the story the whole time.
Because I had a limited amount of time, I was definitely paying attention to how long each episode was. Yeah. Varied lengths of episode time.
Yeah.
Straight up saying that.
Yeah.
Because episode 3 was like 35 minutes, and episode 4 was 55 minutes. Yeah. Just be aware of that if you were thinking of watching.
Like, they're, they have
a little free reign in it.
It's really fine. But when you're in K-drama land all the time and you have very specific lengths of episodes, and then suddenly you're watching something, it's like, there's some variety going on here. We're getting wild.
Like you're used to like planning out your day, like you like add up okay, like I saw one of them be 45 minutes, so that like okay, add that all up and
based
then
on that. Yeah.
Especially since like I don't think this show was ever made to go on television. Mm-hmm. Like I believe it was like an online only situation because it says it's a View original, which to me said, and View's just a streaming service. Mm-hmm. So it'd be sort of like a Netflix original, so it doesn't actually matter like how long each episode is. You can, because like, listen, I was joking with Sky the other day on Blue Sky about how I love when I'm watching C-dramas, like as soon as they hit that runtime, the episode ends, no matter like what's happening in the scene. The episode just ends, and it's like you've seen enough.
Like credits.
It's like it'll be in the middle of like an action. It'll be like end credits start, and you're like, what the hell?
They'll be mid sentence. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's like
it doesn't matter.
Discussion. And you're like, okay.
No, and it'll just start up again in the next episode, and you're like, oh, okay. And that's not the case here. They're what I really feel like each episode is not like a monster of the week, but each episode is also contained. Like the story that it's telling in each episode is contained in that episode, while still like having this overarching mystery. So it's like the first episode is like you are finding out what the hierarchy at this school and how he's going to fit into it, and then it's like then you're finding out about the drama club and the shenanigans, and then it's like then you find out about Nye's past, and then you finally find out like, oh yeah, is this real fucked up life of the main character, and so you're like, okay, so like each one, but they all have like this overarching plot that's like keeping them all together, and I think it's very well written, very well directed, incredibly well acted. Like it's killing it. Like
I think everybody should give it a shot, even if you are a scared person. Like
it's not.
I think scary. That like it's giving the impression that it is, just because the poster's like kind of creepy and it is tagged that way, and there are creepy elements to it. But like I really feel like you should give it a chance, because I think the only thing that would be scary is maybe the imagery of the shadow, which I guess like if you have like an overactive like mind, that might be like something like that would be a problem, but like it's not as frequent as you think, and not as intense all the time as you think. It's like most of the intensity is in the realism of it. Like it's the most intenseful thing was the scenes with his parents.
I do want to say, so like if you tend to kind of be a little scared of these types of shows, right off the bat in episode 1, the first thing you see is the Trin character disappearing. And that is set up very, like, horror elements.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's possible that people would watch the first 5 minutes and be, if this is what this show is like, I'm done type thing. I just want to encourage people, if you can get past, it's not like that the whole time. It truly is not. So, and it doesn't show anything horrific. Like, it's just that it was a heightened moment showing that he went missing, and that was really it. So I don't want people to But I mean, if you can't handle it, you can't handle, you know, that's totally fine. But that's not the tone of the whole show whatsoever. Even the smoke monster stuff is not that heightened, really.
Yeah. I feel like people who can't take horror would have less of a problem with this than people who have dealt with like abuse or something in their own lives. They would have a much harder time watching this than people who just are scared of, you know, monsters or whatever. Like, it's not...
I
so
do
far,
think that,
at least
and
the first 4 episodes.
Yeah, anyway. 4 episodes.
It could you could switch it up.
So.
Like, we don't know.
I think it's got like an air of like, it's just like influenced by horror. Like, you know how like you just get when like a person who's done horror like for almost all of their career, they do something that's not horror, it just always has that kind of like sprinkling of horror. Like, it's got that quality to it, but it's mostly kind of just in the setup of things and like the way it's structured but not that the horror is actually there. It's just like the film techniques of horror is there. And it's almost got, now I'm gonna say this is horror, but like Haunting of Hill House, like that's definitely one of their like the shows that they were like and were inspired by. And I think if you do tend to like those type of things and you're like, oh man, there isn't horror, I think you'd like this show as well. Like, I think both sides will get something out of this show.
Like, I don't...
Big trigger warning for bullying. Like, if that is something you can't watch, that's a thing for this show.
Yeah, it's pretty... like... Not like it's intense, but not in like a violent sort of way, but in like
a very blood or anything. But
no, it's like they're not beating these kids, but it's
it's something that like if you were bullied, you probably were bullied that way. Like, it's got that kind of where they could kind of
like there is a fist
intimidation.
Fight. Yeah, there is one fist fight, but like the bullies don't come out the winner. Let's just say that for what happens there. Ain't gonna play a playa, you know what I mean? Like ain't gonna like, oh, they thought, you know, it has a real moment of like deserved, you know. But like the show is really quite good. Like I'm like really excited to go watch the last 3 episodes that are out because I'm genuinely really enjoying this show quite a bit.
Yeah.
So go support Gaga Ooh La La.
Yeah. Yes, Gaga Ooh La La. Yes. They also have other great non-horror queer content. And we are not sponsored by Gaga Ooh La La, but seriously, Gaga Ooh La La. Listen, Gaga Ooh La La. We love everything you're doing over there on Gaga Ooh La La. So like, call us.
Yeah. And we're very clearly gonna keep watching the show. Maybe we'll do like a live stream or something to like kind of like finish to kind of be like, hey, did our predictions come true, or like did the show keep up its momentum? I think that would be fun. Just kind of be like,
because for anyone listening or watching this on YouTube, we do live streams on YouTube and they're really fun and you should come. And we just did one last week. We did every month we do a roll for drama where we create a drama using random chants and dice, and it's very fun, and we made a banger Halloween drama is all I gotta say. So you should go check that out on YouTube. If you go to our channel on YouTube and click live, it'll be there. Anyway, and so thank you for listening to this episode. We hope you come back next week for another one. You can listen to us wherever podcasts can be found. You know, if you got Spotify, you got Apple Podcasts, we're on there. You know, we're on there, and also we're on YouTube, so you can watch this on YouTube. How exciting! We've been making big moves in video world with old Natalia. You can see how beautiful we look every day. And of course, if you want to like read the links. If you want to look at links, if you want to click links, go to certifiednoonas.com. It's our website, and it's got the links to everything we talk about and time codes and stuff. And if you want to support this podcast, as mentioned earlier in this episode, you can go to patreon.com/certifiednoonas to join the Certified Found family. They're a family on the web. We love them. They're the best. We have a movie night every month. We do little extra mini episodes for them. It's super fun. We love our found family, we think. Chef's
really
kiss.
do.
You're all a bunch of sexy smoke shows over there. We think you're the best. Anyway, thank you for listening to us. We'll be back next week with a hit list episode.
Hit list.
We've got a real wild one coming for you next week, so you should definitely stop back because it's gonna. We haven't even recorded it yet, and I already know it's gonna be a wild episode.
So,
I'll say right now, stock up with some drinks for that episode.
Yeah, definitely cork open that wine, flick the lid off of that soju, mix it with some beer, because it's gonna be a crazy episode. Anyway, thank you for listening to us. We will see you next week. And as always, wash your hands, wear a mask, and keep enjoying Asian entertainment. Bye.
bye.